we're good. All right, so we're talking about surface area of cylinders. We've got 3 problems in our notes. We're going to draw a net. A net who? Anyway, so you guys know a net isn't kind of is a name. Do anybody know anybody named Annette? You do? 2 people. Your grandma? There was a woman named Annette Funicello. She was on the original Mickey Mouse Club. Look at you knowing stuff. Nice. It's Mickey Mouse Club. Pretty awesome stuff. So we're talking about cylinders. All right. So, can't see that. Bop. There we go. Talking about cylinders. This is the net for the cylinder. We saw that yesterday, didn't we? Yeah. We saw that the net was made up of 2 circles and a rectangle. So I want you to draw that. Surface area of a cylinder is made up of 2 circles and a rectangle. All right, I want you to draw that net. Now, how do we find the surface area using this net? It's going to be really important for us. Let's talk about what we discovered yesterday. Well, the easiest of these is the area of the circles, right? How do you find those 2 areas? Not pi r2, pi r squared, right? So A equals pi r squared. A equals pi r squared. So that takes care of both of those circles. Now, do you guys remember what the rectangle was made up of? What 2 special pieces? It wasn't length and width, because we were talking about the cylinder, right? We were talking about the cylinder. And when we flatten that out into our rectangle, what did we get? Well, the top. What was the top? Tori? Yeah. Yeah, the circumference. If you think about this as a tube, right? If you think about it as a tube, and you unfold it, that length across the top, that was our circumference. So this length, right here, circumference. You guys remember how to find circumference? C equals pi d, or 2 pi r. Just so you know, for today we're probably going to use 2 pi r more often, because what do we need for the area? We need the radius, so we're probably going to use 2 pi r. But then that's not the entire thing, is it? So circumference was that top length, but then what was this length here? That was the height, we'll actually be more specific, height of the what? Not of the cylinder. I thought you said the ceiling. I was like, cool. I mean, I guess if we're in a circular room. Yeah, it's the height of the cylinder. The cylinder. So let's come up with an equation for this, because I think it's kind of nice to come up with an equation. So what we've got is we've got the area of the bases, right? So the big thing is you've got this, and you got that. That's the area of the bases. In a cylinder, what are those called? They're called circles, exactly. All right, don't overthink it, right? The area of the bases. And then what do we have? We have what's called anybody remember what the area of the sides is called? The mathy term for it? The area of the bases, and then the... I heard it over here. No, circumference is a length. You have the area of the bases, and then you have the lateral area. Everybody say lateral area. You guys can see, you guys can see it on the bottom of your notes. Did you see the last problem, how it says find the what? So that's why we need to know this term. So the lateral area is the area of the stuff that's not the base, right? So this is called the lateral area, which we would kind of call that the area of, and I would put this in quotes, the area of the sides. It's not actually the area of, it's not actually a side, right? You've got the bases, and then you have like the sides. And that's your lateral area. So how do we find, what are we going to do with this? Okay. We've got this area, and then we've got this area. So let's find it. The area of the bases, right, is pi r squared. How can we finish that? Times 2, right? Why times 2? Exactly. The lateral area is the area of a rectangle, right? Area equals base times height. Well, Well, what's the base of this rectangle? Circumference. 2 pi r, and we saw this yesterday, times base times height, and that would be times what? Times h. So how would we find all of our area? The entire area of an entire cylinder would be pi r squared times 2, why times 2?
You could just
2 circles, and then circumference times height. Why circumference? Because that's the length of our rectangle times height, which is the height of our rectangle. So those are kind of how we would summarize that. So let's get some steps here. Let's get some steps. You can simplify these a little bit if you'd like. So you break the cylinder up into 2 circles and 1 rectangle. Is there enough room to write those steps? Did I make them big enough? Okay, so I just need to make them bigger next time? Okay. The goal is to get them on one line apiece. After you've broken the cylinder up into 2 circles, 1 rectangle, then I always recommend find the area of the rectangle first. Or excuse me, the area of the circles first. In my opinion, it's a little bit easier to think about. It's just one formula. We actually, most of you already have it memorized. Once you found the area of the circles, then we find the area of the rectangle. And then we got to remember what makes that rectangle. The rectangle is made up of the circumference times the height. And the final step is to add the 2 circles and the rectangle. So here's how I break them up into 2 circles and a rectangle. I do this. There we go, it's broken up. That's how I do it. I break it up like that. I separate my mind so I can focus on one thing at a time. You don't like what? Okay, then what you can do is you can draw a circle, then draw a circle, and then draw a rectangle. You can. I mean, however you want to break them up into 2 circles and a rectangle is good with me. This is how I do it. If you want to break it up as circle, circle, rectangle, that's cool too. I don't mind. So the 2 circles, right? A equals what? To find the area of the circles? Pi r squared. Right? We always want to start with a formula if we can. And what's the radius? A equals pi what? 6 squared, which is 36 pi. You with me on that? What does squared mean? Times itself, not times 2. Good. So this is where you'll need your calculators. So figure out what 36 pi is. Don't wait for me to do it. You figure it out. 113.04. I need a second on that.
Yeah.
All right. So it's approximately equal to 113.04. But I'm not done. What do I need to multiply times 2? There's 2 circles, so it actually is 226.08. And that's centimeters squared. Question so far on that part? What have we just found the area of? You can think about it as like you can see, if you think about this as a can, you found the lids, right? You found the bottom and the lids. Now the rectangle is the lateral area. It's like the label on the can, right? It's like the toilet paper roll. So what's that area? We just wrote down that area formula. Did you write it down? Did you write it down? Circumference times height. Circumference times height. What's the circumference? 2 pi r. Why would I use the 2 pi r version? Because I have to have the r for the area. All right? 2 pi r. Oh, but that's not it. That's the length. I need that times what? Times the height. Times h. Why? What is this? This is the height of the cylinder. I spelled cylinder wrong. Maybe I just spelled it Zealander. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is the place where people mess up. Okay? Because they don't memorize it, and you don't have to memorize it as long as you remember that the lateral area is like this. Right, remember that visualization about that toilet paper roll. Yes, ma'am.
Wait, why did you put like 2 commas if it's in centimeters?
Because the two commas is in quotes. It's a rectangle, but it's not actually a rectangle, right? Is this a rectangle? No, this is a cylinder. But it's a rectangle. It's a rectangle when we do this, right? Whoop. So that's why I said it's the rectangle. It's not actually a rectangle because it's round. But when we unfold it, it becomes a rectangle. That's why I put it as the rectangle. Really what this is, rectangle is actually the lateral area. Right, you have the area of the bases plus the lateral area. That's what it is. Let's finish this problem and then I'll take some questions. 2 pi, what's the radius? 6. And the height of the cylinder? But that doesn't look like the height. Shouldn't 12 be the height? No. The height of the cylinder, right? What if we just turn the cylinder so it was like this? Whoop. Right? The height is always that distance between the bases. And the height is always the distance between the bases. And so 2 times 6 is 12. 12 times 14, you use your calculator and you get 168. Can you tell me where you got the 84 from? Did you multiply 6 times 14?
Yeah.
Yep. And then you got to multiply by 2. Here we enter our calculator again. So we get 527.92, 52, 0.52, 527.52 centimeters squared. And then the final step is to add the 2 circles and the rectangles. So we get 226.08 plus 527.52. And that equals 753.6 centimeters squared. So, there it is. A couple things to remember and to point out before we do the next one. The next one's going to go faster. A couple things to point out. Why multiply times 2 here?
Because there's 2 sides.
2 circles, and both of them are congruent. They're equal to each other. Why are we multiplying times h? Because that's the height of the cylinder. This is the circumference. It's this distance here, which when we unroll it becomes the length and the width of our rectangle. All right. Questions on this? Yes, 80. Let's get this one. One thing I need you to do is, there's a radius of 20. I need you to change it to a diameter. Oop, there we go. Now it's diameter. Go ahead and change that to a diameter, please. How does that change what we need to do? Now we have to divide that diameter by 2, because what do we need? We need the radius for the area. We don't need the radius for the circumference, but mine as well, right? So let's set it up. Let's set it up like Luke wants to set it up. Circle plus rectangle. Guys, what's that rectangle actually called? Lateral area. So I'll get us started, and then I'll have you and your partners finish this problem up. So area for the circle, what is it going to be? Pi what? So what are we going to plug in? 10, not 20, right? And I'll let you guys finish that in a moment. Let's go over to the rectangle. The lateral area is area equals what? Circumference times the height. What's the circumference for us going to be? Circumference. Yep. 2 pi r times the height of the cylinder, which is h. So 2 pi 10 times 15. I want you and your partners to finish this problem up. I'll give you about 2 minutes. Do your best to finish this problem up, and then we'll get together and do the lateral area problem. All right, so working with their partner, talking through the steps, making sure you agree on your answers. Are you checking your area of your circle with your partner? Hey, I know that might not have been enough time to get the whole thing done, but you can check what you have with me. Questions for me right now? Why didn't I have to do any work for this one?
Because it's times 2 anyway.
Yeah, we already did it. We already did it like that.
So for the rectangle, you said we have to do like the 2 times pi r, so times pi, or can we just do the pi times diameter?
You can. You can do pi times diameter. That's absolutely fine. I'm going to tell you right now, if you get a formula for this one, it's going to look like this. 2 pi r squared, because of the 2 circles, 2 pi r squared, plus 2 pi r h. If you get a formula for it, it will look like that. The reason being because I use the 2 pi r because you have to have the radius for these. So I say, well, if I have to have the radius for these, why not just keep the radius for those? But if you want to use pi d, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. My recommendation is to make sure that you just stick with r, but you can use pi d. Other questions on this one? I want to get to the last problem here. Okay, so we want to find the lateral area. Okay, steps. Why do we ignore the circles? Yeah, so this question, find only the lateral area. Find only the area of the rectangle. That's what you found yesterday when you were working for Charmin. That's what you found. You found only the lateral area. That's all you found yesterday. So what shape is the lateral surface? It's a rectangle, so we only want to do the rectangle part. Okay? So kind of what this is saying, this thing it's saying how much paper do we need? Right, that's what this question's asking. How much paper do we need for the label? That's what this question's asking. So we only need to do the rectangle part. So rectangle, which is called the lateral area, right? So area equals circumference times height, right? So what's the circumference part? 2 pi r times the height. So we get 2 pi what?
2
Times 5.5. 2 times 2 is 4, times 5.5 is what? 22. So we get approximately what? 69.08 inches squared is how much we need. Okay? I know that I kind of went through that one fast, but lateral area is actually a lot faster to find because we don't need to even worry about the bases. Okay?